Okay. Hi, guys. Hi. It's Kelly. I got this journal done finally. Oh my God. This one's huge, you guys. It's huge. And it's huge and kind of epic. This is the back. I don't know why I have the back on here, but it's a huge one. So I got a lot to go through, but it's okay. So I put the link to this. It's in my Etsy shop. And I just linked it all up and everything. And so, anyways, this is a big one. So let me get my ruler and stuff. Let me see how big it is here. It's a big one. I think it's 9 by, yep, 9 by, well, 6 3/4. Yeah, 9 by 6 3/4. Okay. So I made it out of a, it's a chipboard in the middle. And then it's a vintage flour sack, which I really think is really cool. And then I got the middle corners and I sewed all around. And I have this thing about thick and chunky lace and crocheted lace. And this is a General Mills flour sack, by the way. And so anyways, I put a bunch of different kinds on the spine because I just like to layer it up like that. And so thick and chunky is how I like it. And so anyway, then this was off of like, I think it was a pillowcase, and like, I don't know, I'm using things that were, I don't know, that a person that would have made this would have used. And so so it's just huge. Look, so 5 signatures, and it weighs like, well, it's almost 3 pounds. So the shipping is going to be, I have to put it in, it fits in a medium priority box. Okay. And so then the closure, I just used part of the flour sack, so it still has like all the writing on it, and it's General Mills and stuff, so it's pretty cool. So this whole book is basically about 1929, stock market crash and the Depression era. It's like that 10 years in there where everything was complete. It was terrible for women. What do I got going on here? It's frayed so much that the frays are sticking together. I guess I could cut some of the strings off, but we like the frays, so I always leave them, but I guess too many frays. But anyway, so they had a bad 10, 12 years there, and then first they have the stock market crash, and then they have the Depression, and then we have World War II. So it just was not a good, not a good time back then, and the women, they had a hell of a time. We think we have it rough now, and we cry and complain because, we feel like bad parents because, we can't give our kid a cell phone or something. But you know what? Putting in perspective, it's all okay. You know what I mean? And so, anyway, so it says General Mills and, different things on the straps here. And I got the middle corners, and it's got, I think it's linen, something vintage linen, I think from Tim Holtz. And so, so this is really fun. So, the stock market crash in 1929, and it triggered the Great Depression, and there was like 4 days there where they call it, Black Thursday, and, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that. And so it put the country in, the deepest and most long-lasting economic downfall ever, And so times were tough. And so, if you can imagine, I mean, it was tough back then already being a woman. And so then you have to go through something like this. And then, so it was epic for not only a woman, but the country and, just everything, and the species. Even, we were all just, there was so many things happening at that time for the country and for just everything. I just don't think anything more could possibly have been happening, at this time. So this book is going to be from a woman's perspective who was poor, who saved everything, like, your grandma did, you know, and we'd laugh because she saves all her baggies and saves all of her stuff, you know, and but you know, it's not funny because they really lived through something, and you can see it in their faces and in their hands and in their clothes. And you know, it wasn't easy being a woman back in the day when, you know, we didn't have all the modern conveniences that we have now. You know, it's no joke. You know, I mean, these women had it hard, you know. And so anyways, you guys have seen my videos. I don't have to tell you how I made everything and all this, but you've seen how I do it. So I make these little things, and I've got a time card in here because, you know, these women worked, and they worked because what happened was, oh my goodness, you know, it kind of got all messed up. It kind of got all messed up because, well, I'll say, let's see. Oh, here's one of the fern letters. These fern letters are really neat. I'll just open it up and show you because it's got that great seepage in it, you know. So I make these and fold them up and put them in here, and you can, these are your journaling spots. I have a lot of stuff in mine usually, so if it's got a lot of stuff in it, I put things in here like this for, this is where your journaling spots are, okay? On the backs of these cards and in these little letters and the backs of these soup labels and stuff, this is where you can, you know, use them for your lists and do your journaling and whatever it is you want to do. So anyway, I'm saving, you know, the soup can labels and saving this big chunky pieces of lace. This one oh my God, it was a tablecloth, but they ripped the tablecloth part out of it and just kept this because the tablecloth must have been, you know, really bad or whatever. But I'm so glad they kept this. And I found it in this little shop, and I about freaked out, you know, because it was real big and round, and, you know, this is the kind I like. I was like, ah, everybody move, you know. So anyway, it was really fun to get. So anyways, and then I made these crunchy little, they're made out of vintage recipe books, and it's got parchment paper on the inside and coffee paper on the back, and then sewed around, and then it's, you know, recipes and stuff. So, and then this is about women in the era, and some really good pictures about how Eleanor Roosevelt in 1933 wrote that It's Up to the Women book, you know. And you know, because it really was. I mean, the men were unemployed, the women had to go work, and so we had to work plus take care of the kids. And 25%, I think it was 25% of the men were unemployed. And so, you know, it was terrible. And the banks, the stock market crash happened. Buddy, what are you doing? Knock it off. My dog. Anyway, the stock market crash happened. And so the banks, they could only give out, I think it was 10 cents on the dollar or something. And everybody freaked out, and they rushed to the bank to get their money out. See? But the banks were using the money without telling them, you know, your savings account, and investing it in the stock market. So the stock market crashes, so the banks don't have the money to give you back. And oh, there you go. You lose your house, you lose your business, you lose everything. So depending on where you lived, what your status was, what your race was, you know, all those things played a part. So everybody felt the depression in a different way. So it's interesting, you know, the different things that were happening. So anyway, so I used some of the tops to my vintage thread to just make little decorations. And this is coffee stain file folder with vintage magazine ads from the era. And this is a 12 by 12. These are all 12 by 12 pieces. And then, you know, they're just folded in such a way where it makes, you know, spots. And so this side now is kind of cool because if you have long pieces of ephemera like this, you can fold them and slide them in the side right here. So it kind of works out. So that's how we're doing that. And so here's like depression dinner recipe and like honey cake. And this is coffee stain file folder. And I think this is Kane Company paper, some of it. And then, you know, I really don't remember. God, I have so many packs. And then coffee stained envelopes, and I put some really old stamps on here, and so they flip out like this, and so it gives you, you know, extra storage for your own stuff. Now, some of them back here, I put, you know, ephemera and stuff in, but some of them, you know, I had to leave empty because look at how big this is. I can't possibly fit any more in here, you know. You know what I mean? And so here's a fold down, and so I cut some ticket shapes out so it flips up, so you can journal, 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 and you can tuck stuff in here, do it however you're gonna do. I thought about even punching a hole here and having stuff hang out, but I can't. Like, there's no room. So anyway, it's really cool. It's got wood on here, and I just think this is neat. It's kind of like, and so, even if you did live in town or you had a washing machine, if you were so lucky, you couldn't probably use it in the Depression anymore. So, here's this woman out and she's doing laundry in the wringer washer, and we use the wringer washer even. I mean, and we, just because that's how we were, but we weren't living through the Depression then. But so I like the wringer washer anyway. It's kind of a neat photo. And then these are tags I made out of Vintage Apron, Vintage Magazine. I sewed it all screwed up, all around. And then copy on the back. I think it's a file folder. That's how I kind of do these ones. And then there's some nice coffee staining there. And I really like this paper. It's just really cute. And then I make these I fold it up. This is Vintage Cookbook. And I just make these little pockets anyway. You watch my videos. And so there's some journaling cards in here about, farm stuff. And then this is like up in the Appalachian Mountains, they're farm people, and they're up there living in the cabin in the woods, and they're farming and living, and they're really poor and stuff, and they burn wood, and they don't have any electricity and all that kind of stuff. And so here's another one of my crunchy tags if you like those. And then I love this because it's a wood stove, with all the stuff up there, and it's a tuck spot so you can put stuff back here. But I did leave some of it open because holy buckets, this is huge. So, and so here's some Vintage Magazine, and then here's a vintage doily with a blue scalloped edge, and I'm using waxed thread here for the signatures. And so here's the other side, and more coffee staining. And this is a syrup label, and these are pockets, but I left them open so you can stuff it if you need to. And then I did a bottom and a top tuck here, just depending on what you want to put in it and how you want to do it. And these are just vintage book pages, and then I did some other kind of sewing stitches on here, but it just depends how you're going to use it, what you want to do with it. Here's a little tuck spot there and a pocket here. And then here's another one of those flip ups like that. I like these. They're kind of fun. You know what I mean? So anyways, I'm saving things that I thought she would have saved. So I have some, seam binding things, and here's a really pretty piece of coffee stained. It looks like wallpaper kind of stuff. So it's kind of neat, but so I'm trying to put in here things that she would have kept. And here's a vintage ad about, furniture. And here's another one of my little tags I make out of the cookbooks. And then here's some more can labels, and another one of my tags with the paper on it. I like these. They're crunchy and fun. And I'm doing this because I know that, a woman that lived through an era like this would have saved every little thing, and that's what they do. And if she wants to make it useful, she would have done this. But a woman that would have made this book, she was busy, because not only did she have the kids and the husband, but these women, they had to go out and work. And then after that, the men were unemployed and they had to go work. And so, the women had to get it done. And that's what, Eleanor Roosevelt was saying. The women get it done. So they had to work and, make ends meet. So she would have saved, everything she can, which includes the seed packets and the labels and, just different things in here. It's actually kind of fun, all the stuff that I put in here, all the things that a person would have saved and kept just in case, she might need them. And then here's a guy farming back here. He's got some straw for the animals, and, maybe that was her grandpa or something. And then this lady here, she's the epitome of what was happening. You know, she had to endure the, you know, not only the stock market crash, but then they had a drought, and then, you know, they just lost everything. And then the war came, and so then the men all left, and then, you know, and then they still had to work, you know, because the men were gone, and so anyway, it just was a tough time for women, you know, then. And so she's just really, you know, she's got that face, and she evokes some kind of emotion, you know, when you look at her. And so she really tells you a story just by looking at her, you know. And so I wanted to put her in here. So anyway, you know, fabric pages here, lace fabric pages, coffee stain. These are cute little salt shakers. And then here's another one of my little pockets. And here's another woman, you know. I love these images because she's out on her porch, and she's got a dish rag, and she's doing dishes, and she's thinking of somewhere else. She's not there. She's doing something else there, you know. And so, you know, women have to put up with a lot sometimes, you know. So, you know, we have to do it all sometimes, and sometimes we get tired, you know. So, and here's the flip up there. And then so this is one of those placemats from like the kitchen, like a restaurant, and then I sewed around, and so it's a big, you know, big pocket right here. And then here's some egg recipes, like breakfasty stuff, and some more parchment and biscuit recipes. And then on the center here I have some big pot holders. I like these old vintage pot holders with the lace edge, and it's real fat and chunky, and I just like it. Popover recipe, and the cookbook, and then the pocket again, and then here's the other side of that one. There's a lot in here. I don't have to talk about every single thing, but here's another envelope flippy outy with the vintage stamps. And then here's one of those cute little pockets I make out of the vintage junk, or I mean the junk mail envelopes, you know, and then we just put paper on it. And so there's some ephemera back here, you know, grocery stores, and then there's some, you know, clothes hanging out on the line. And here's this lady, you know, she's out getting eggs, even though, you know, she's probably dirt poor and going through hell. She, you know what I mean? She still has that sweet little smile on her face, you know, because what are you going to do? You endure, and either you're going to be totally miserable, or, you know, you're going to live through it and maintain some kind of something, you know. And so those women, you know, they really had to maintain. And so anyway, there's some ripped up papers in here, you know, and some tags with sewing and recipes and stuff, you know. And there's headline news about the collapse of the stock market, and you know, just cool paper. And then there's and then these pockets I made out of pattern paper, and then images, you know, and I just sewed them on, and then I glue them down, and then I have big spots for, you know, ephemera and stuff. And here's some for flower, and there's some more stuff, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff tucked back in here, you know, you guys, how I do it. I don't know if you do, but if you watch my videos, you know that I overstuff everything. And so I had this one lady one time buy a book, you know, and then I get this message back, and she's like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize." I'm like, you know, and the camera, it just doesn't do it justice. I don't have the greatest of camera, you know, but anyway, so so all these images are black and white this time, just because it just, I don't know, it fits. And then in here I have little photos of, like, you know, the barn windows and the barn wood, and I sewed around the edge down here. And this is a cute little pocket I make, you know, I make these if you watch my videos. And here's another one of the flip out envelopes with the stamp. And then this is a farmer's journal envelope that we can use for a tuck spot. You can put stuff in there. And here's another hunk of that lace. I just basically just threw it on there, because doesn't that look good? You know what I mean? Against the flowers and that fabric, it's like, I don't know, this reminds me of like a tablecloth, you know what I mean? And so, I don't know, I'm just into it. I'm just totally into it, man. You know what I mean? And then it bends over and flops on this side, so it's like a wraparound. I don't know. I'm just loving it. And here's another one of my tags. I make all these throughout the whole thing. And so the depression was happening, but at the same time, there were some great things too. Maybelline and different companies were coming out and their ads were so beautiful and the women were so glamorous. Hollywood back then was just something. All the movies and the stars that were back then. So there were so many things happening, so many good things too. That could have been missed, and that's why they were so popular too, because people were really wanting to hang on to something that was funny or good, or something they'd rather go watch the movies than deal with what was really happening. And so there's just a bunch of ephemera in here. There's sewing stuff. These are fabric pockets made out of little I think it was a little pillowcase, and so I cut it, and so I left the lace on, and then here's some of that ribbon that was going through. And so in here there's snaps and, like, I don't know, just a bunch of sewing ephemera. And then there's a button one here, and you can write in there. And then this pulls out so you can write in there. And there's like pieces of fabric that's vintage apron. And then there's another one of my little scrappy letters so you can journal in there. There's just a lot in here. And so then there's just little pockets. I just made these cute little pockets out of sheets that were already like 6x6s or something, and these little wooden spoons. And then I have some more pictures here, and the African American women, well, they had their own struggle, so I mean, everyone, depending, like I said, on your race or your finances or whatever, it just depends, how you felt and what was happening, where you were at. So everybody felt the depression in a different way, but every article you read says something different. Look at the cow, isn't he cute? Oh my goodness. And this is a farmer's journal, a vintage farmer's journal book. And here's some more of my crunchy tags with the coffee on the back. And then this is a druggist little thing where you can journal on. It's inked on the inside, and it's from the drugstore. So back then, you didn't go to the doctor a lot. They had home remedies, and they, drank all those weird tinctures and did all that weird stuff, that we read about. You know what I mean? So I wanted to include some, weird stuff that they do. Here's some more sewing ephemera. I don't know what they are, snaps or something. And then there's a good picture down here. It's on photo paper and some little corners. And this is from the drugstore, a little receipt. And this has got doily on there from the coffee staining. And then here's some more of my tags. And then here's, all of her home remedy stuff that she would have kept. And then this is from Rick Rack. And I glued it on so that it's a little flippy outy thing. Plus it's a little pocket. It's really cute. So I put all this little stuff in here. Just all this fun stuff that we like. Campbell's soup, little history thing, and some little tags. So that's a cute little spot. You want to hide stuff for fun. You know what I mean? And here's the other side of that envelope. And I just left this because I like coffee paper. It looks good. And it's fun. And so here's some more ephemera about ointments, and treatments and all that kind of weird stuff. And then here's this lady. Here's another tuck spot. Now you can fit a lot in here. Even behind it goes, So here's this lady. She's on her front porch, and, she's making butter. And this was another one of those images that I just thought were really good, She's sitting out there making butter. I like to make butter, actually. It's really good, only I need to figure out how to get it a little more salty. So on this spot here, it's a lot of room back here for you, and it says evacuation sale, All the furniture must go. So, they really had to sell everything because, the banks didn't have any money to give them. So it was tough. They lost it all. And then what? Then what do you do? So a lot of them ended up, well, I'll show you. There's some pretty sad photos, but Look at this vintage wallpaper. Isn't that beautiful? I just love that so much. It's so pretty. And then here's another one of my coffee cards. Coffee cards. And here's burlap pages, Campbell's soup labels, coffee paper. Here's one of, you know, Grandma making some bread. And then here's some depression facts about how women had to make ends meet, and about Eleanor Roosevelt, and, you know, about just different things for you to read about history. There's a little pocket there. And then there's some ephemera in the back about cows and stuff. Farming stuff. And then there's some vintage magazine. And here's another old pot holder, and I left the little ticket on of where I got it at the little shop that I got, and it's pinned. I left it on there because I think that's funny. And then here's another one of my little pockets. And then so you know, some of these women, they didn't have any other choice but to go into farming to get paid. You know, they were working farmers. You know, these women had to go out and pick and farm, and, you know, that's hard, you know. So these people were from the Dakotas, I believe, and so that's like close to home. So I wanted to show this, but I wish that the camera would, I'm trying to get it so you can see the woman's face, but it's not doing it. You know, she don't look too happy. You know what I mean? She doesn't look like she's enjoying anything, that's for sure. So anyway, here's some more cool paper I did on this scrolly stuff. And here's a burlap page that we can, I was thinking we could put some pins on here and hang stuff on there if you wanted to. And this is a vintage magazine. This is a printout of the headlines about how many billions they lost in the stock market. I need a drink. More lace. Here's another one of the envelopes. And this one has ephemera in it. Pond's cream. Pond's was even way back then. I tried to keep all the ephemera, you know, in the 30s. So, and all of this stuff. Here's another little, this one's big. But you can fit big stuff in here because, you know, it's long. And then there's some more in here too. 1920. Oh, well, that's 1916, I guess. That's really early. But here's some more soup labels. And what did I do here? See, and here's some more farming things and, like, just a bunch of papers that she would have kept. You know what I mean? Kind of. So it's kind of fun. Book page tags. This was a seed packet. And then here's something about, oh, Campbell's soup ephemera is in here and tucked in there. And this I thought was really cute because the kids are taking a bath in the little tub, you know. Look at that kitchen. I mean, that's just something, you know. So, I mean, these people had it rough, you know. I love that picture. It's one of my favorites. Here's a Bear aspirin ephemera. And another one of my little tags. And then this is a big lace, well, I guess it was a pillowcase, you know. And so I just thought it was super cute. So I filled it with a whole bunch of different kinds of seam binding. And there's pins in here, so watch out. But I just think that's really cute because it's filled with a whole bunch of seam binding in. It's like a sewing thing. So here's some of the women out in the fields, you know. And these, the farm women, there's a little article here, and it says that the farm women were faced with the greatest hardships in caring for the families and doing farm labor. In 1930, a study of white women, 57% cooked on wood stoves, and 80% were still using the oil lamps, you know. So, I mean, there's just some fun facts in here. It's kind of fun. Tells you all the percentages. So it says in 1829, a good picker earned $4 a day. So their yearly wages were $485 for the year, you know. So that's just crazy to me. But anyway, I had to include that because that's a facts, you know. some more parchment. Here's another vintage envelope with some pretty little ephemeras in it of this pretty little girl. A sewing ephemera. And these coffee stain envelopes are in my shop too, by the way. I haven't been pointing anything out in my shop yet, but here's more. The placemat with the sewing all the way around, and then it's a big pocket. And this is it's a co-op, you know, farmers magazine. And then here's the center with the big pot holder again, and the tag. This one I got at Cottage Linens. And it's got an old pin. Oh, thank you. I heard someone in my store. Thank you. I heard someone in there. This is a nice big tuck spot up there. More parchment paper. And so this lady, she's got a butter churn. And she's out, look at her fireplace. And she's got a big pot on the fire there, stirring. And here's a little tag I made. And these are another one of my little pockets I make. And some sewing ephemera in the back. And then here's some lace on the other side of this pillowcase. I didn't put anything in there because the other one's stuffed and it's so full. But you can take all the stuffies out and then it'll give you room to do what you'd like. And here's a woman feeding her litter of piglets. You know, I've had piglets before. They're really sweet. But, you know, it all needed to be done. And here's some more magazines and wood stove. And there's some more ephemera back here about how the drought caused some of the, well, it didn't cause it, but it didn't help either. And so, you know, these people lost their farms. They were already poor. So their farms wouldn't grow because they had no rain. You know, so the depression and then the drought and then, you know, the war is coming. And so, you know, these poor people had a heck of a time, you know. Heck of a time living back then, boy, oh boy, I tell you. So on the back then, I got one of my book page pockets that I put a couple different kinds of paper on, so it's pretty cute. And I got a big hunk of stained lace there and one of my tags that I make. And then, I don't know, a picture of a chicken. I thought maybe she might think she might want that kind. And then here's a little, just a little, you know, thingy that we'd like to do. And then one of my pockets I sewed or glued on, but it's like turned sideways. So I put all the little stuffies in it, like right here. And then here's one of my embellished clips right there. And then the four corners. And then the back. The back is the flour sack and then the trim. I'm telling you, this lace has got to be, I don't know how thick it is, but it's the thickest, chunkiest lace I got. And I've been coveting it for so long, not wanting to use it. Or this big, oh God, I just love this. And so I really just stacked that stuff right on there. And so anyway, this is huge and it's going to hopefully go to somebody who likes history and and who enjoys thick and chunky. And so anyway, so you know, the women had to go through a lot this time. And you know, it was kind of confusing too because the role reversal happened, you know, with women out in the workforce. What's happening, you know? So the whole country was kind of going through this kind of depression, not only, you know, economically, but, you know, the men were very depressed too. They'd leave the house and go stand in the food lines and you know, they didn't understand, you know, God, what happened, you know? So the poor guys at that time too, you know, so they went through something, you know, too. So anyway, oh, and I put this big hunk of lace back here too. I can't remember where I got this from, but it was just like on another piece of linen of something that I had. So anyway, this one's huge. So anyway, I just want to do the flip through for it. And so I hope you enjoyed my little history lesson. Okay, you guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye.